The member for Timiskaming-Cochrane.
Thank you, Speaker. It's once again an honour to be able to stand in this House on behalf of the people of Timiskaming-Cochrane, and one of my constituents is right here, Ken Lafreniere. And so he doesn't maybe trust what I say, so he's definitely going to... But anyway, levity aside, I think this is an important motion. I think all motions brought forward to the House are important motions and should be treated as such. So I'd like to go through it. So that in the opinion of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, Ontario families need to see a long-term plan for more full-time jobs. That speaks for itself, Speaker. Who wouldn't want more long-term, full-time jobs? And I'd just like to digress for a moment that this weekend we had the Liberal convention, and the Premier is now telling us that we need a government with a steady hand to maintain our economy. We went from the Transit Premier to the Jobs Premier, the Education Premier. Now we're the Premier. Now we're the Premier of the steady hand, the same steady hand that the government of the last 10 years, the same steady hand that 2 years almost to the day announced the divestment of ONTC without consulting anyone, without talking to anyone in Northern Ontario. That steady hand. The steady hand that we found later that when the Auditor General report came out, they hadn't even looked at the numbers to see if they were going to save any money when they made that divestment. So that is the steady hand we're talking about.
Is that scary?
On the government side. But let's go back to this motion. So, and then if the Liberal government has not tabled the budget, and looking forward, it's by March 31st. So I take this motion seriously. So I look at how many other budgets have been tabled by March 31st, specifically by Her Majesty's loyal opposition, and short-term memory is basically none. So I'm thinking, well, okay, so maybe we'll read a bit further to see if this motion has some substance. So if they don't table a budget, they should implement the Million Jobs Plan. So I thought, well, let's look at the Million Jobs Plan. Because that, I'm trying to take this motion seriously. I'm one of these risky, radical dairy farmer types. The type that takes all these huge risks. I take a lot of risks when I plant my crop, but we're not known as a risky type of people. So, and the one I'd like to look at is the electric in the Million Jobs Plan from the opposition. The schedule under the Electricity Act 1998, if this was implemented, the schedule repeals provisions dealing with the feed-in tariff program if there is a contract to procure energy from a large-scale renewable energy source under the feed-in tariff program, but the renewable energy source has not been connected to the grid. The connection cannot be made until the minister under the Act consults with the relevant municipalities and authorizes connection. So this is put in there. This is how they are going to save money on electricity, basically by saying if there is a solar farm or a wind turbine farm that's built but not yet connected, they can cancel the contract. The only jobs that's going to create is for lawyers. I thought these guys were at the hearings when we had the gas plant scandal. They're talking about creating the gas plant scandal over and over and over again, like Groundhog Day.
Sort of like the NDP supporting.
No, but really, these people, I'm amazed. They're so busy talking about the Million Jobs Act, they haven't actually read what they're actually trying to do. Because canceling contracts once they're signed is not going to save the province any money. So then I look at the risky NDP plan, okay, where we're going to merge
the Liberals.
We're going to merge our utility companies. We're going to merge. You see, something for the people at home. When you're doing a good job, people heckle because they don't want to hear you. When you merge utility companies like Hydro One and OPG, and so that won't save much. Oh yes, it will, because then, and one of the members from Conservatives, he likes hydropower. So do I. He also likes storing electricity. with water. It's a really good concept. If we merge those two companies, we could do that with our own dams. I've got a dam in my riding, the Lower Notts Power Dam, a hydro dam, Lower Notts Power Dam, and they would be a perfect site for this. And the reason they can't do it is because they're two separate companies, both owned by the public. And I asked them, well, why can't you, when hydro is cheap and we're subsidizing power to other jurisdictions, why can't we take that water and pump it back up into your reservoir? And his answer shocked me, Speaker. It shocked me. He says, because we can't pay the transportation charges, the debt retirement charge, we can't afford to pay the bills. But it's those two companies belong to the people of Ontario. If we made that one company, we could do things like that, things that make practical sense. And that's what the other two parties are worried that we're risky, because we're actually putting forward things that make practical sense. The government spends a lot of time saying how the NDP has no plans, and then the plans like the Financial Accountability Office, the plan to put more to help youth get an experience in their first job, they end up stealing those ones, and then they turn around, oh, you have no plan. So now they expect us to keep coming up with new ones to keep them going. Well, you know what? It's time they come up with their own ideas, and when they actually come up with a budget, then we will give it the yes or the no. That's the place we are. But this motion, after I looked at the first two parts of it, basically that the budget had to be by March 31st, which has never been done before by them, and the part of the Million Jobs Act that was supposed to save money on electrical costs by giving the minister the ability to cancel contracts for projects that were already built. After I did a bit of research on those, Speaker, I cannot in good conscience vote for this motion. Thank you, Speaker.